Good morning and welcome back to Miniature Monday here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we're going to continue our look at the Battletech miniatures from the recent Mercenaries Kickstarter. Today we're going to be looking at the Battlefield Support Pack, Assault and Cavalry Lances. Now, this is a collection of 8 miniatures of 4 different types. So you're going to get 2 of each of the miniatures in this box, and it represents some of the more well-known vehicles from the Battletech universe. Now, we're going to combine this by looking at some of the art that has been done of these vehicles over the years, and I'll give you my thoughts on the miniature itself, how I think the detail came out, and what I think of it compared to its art. But before we do that, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week covering all sorts of content, whether it's miniatures, board games, role-playing, or anything in between. And I'd love for you to come along and see what we have to share. Now, there are also a couple of affiliate links down below to DriveThruRPG, to Amazon. It does give a little bit of a kickback to the channel if you'd like to help us out. But regardless, we're happy you're here, and thanks for watching. So, with that out of the way, let's take a look. So, our first vehicle is the Shrek PPC Carrier. Now, one thing that I do like about all of these vehicle miniatures so far is that they all have turrets that can rotate, so they're not in a fixed position, unlike the battle mechs, which are all essentially static poses. These actually give you a little bit of flexibility. Now, for this, the detail is actually pretty good. There's obviously a little bit of mold lines along the barrels. You don't see as much mold line on the hull of the vehicle, but otherwise there's some decent detailing going on here. The armor plates, the smoke canisters, overall they did pretty well with this. Now, as it's spinning around, I am noticing there is a little bit of loss of some detail, but again, for the scale of these, it's not really a problem. Now let's compare it to some of the art. Now, first up, we have the original piece of art from 3026 done by Dwayne Luce. Now, this is a pretty different vehicle compared to what we have in what I'm going to call moving forward the Ill Clan versions. It's the barrels are a lot thinner. I like on the miniature how the barrels are more consistent in size, whereas on this you have the thinner barrels with some thicker mantlets, I think is what they're called, here at the end. It's a good piece of art. I like Dwayne Luce's style, but I think I prefer the miniature that we ended up with. Now, this is the 3026 version. This is an updated version from Tech Readout 3039. Now, this is one of the later tech readouts. Basically, when they had to get rid of a lot of the unseen, they used this book, which is essentially 4th Succession War era, and they got a lot of new art done. So this one I don't think was as good as Dwayne Luce's, but it's not bad, and it's fairly close. Like it's kind of a mix between what we have now and what we have from the original drawing. Next up, we have the art for Ill Clan. Now, this is essentially the piece of art that was used for the miniature. I like the styling. It's much cleaner. It's much more, for lack of a better way to put it, accurate. It's lost some of the kind of sketch style of the previous versions, but I really like what they gave us. It's a good vehicle, and you know, yeah, it's a nice one. So that is the Shrek PPC carrier. All right, now next up we have the Demolisher. This is an 80-ton tank sporting two AC-20s. Uh, this is it's kind of interesting. I like what they did here because it's running a pair of AC-20s, and so they look absolutely massive on the miniature. The rest of the miniature looks like it is a nice, big, heavy tank that is going to support these giant autocannons. Uh, you know, overall, it's this just looks like it's designed to be heavy. There's not a ton of non-armor detail, but I do notice a few pieces that are just nice little add-ons, like the ladders here on the side that obviously crew would use to climb up and be able to get into the tank through. Um, you know, but otherwise it just looks like it's big, it's armored, and it's gonna hurt you if it gets close. Um, Overall, really, really solid miniature. Now, for art, this is the first piece from Tech Readout 3026, and this is kind of what I mean, where I like the fact that the barrels of the autocannons on the miniature are really big and really thick. These almost look like medium lasers or something, just a little too small. For the next picture, we've got a bit of a simpler version out of the original Camo Specs book. Again, these autocannons are supposed to be the biggest autocannons in the game, and yet they literally look like medium lasers to me. So kind of funny, but it looks the same. Went with a simple paint job for the particular mech, so nothing too fancy. But again, the whole point to the Camo Specs book was to just give you an idea of what you could paint the miniatures to look like. All right. And next up, we've got Tech Readout 3039. Now, this we're getting closer to the miniature that we got out of the support pack. The barrels look a bit heavier. The tank itself looks a bit heavier, although the turret looks ridiculously massive. It looks like it's larger than the hull itself. So I'm not quite sure how stable the vehicle itself would be, but overall, I think we're moving in the right direction. Now, this was from the original Mech Warrior role-playing game, so a little bit more of I'd call it a sketch or a simple drawing, but it's also getting a lot cleaner. You can see that the turret isn't quite as massive. Or compared to the hull, the barrels are good sized as well. So it implies that there's some beef behind it, but not a bad drawing. I do like that they've also got the little ladder entry piece here. I do find it interesting that they went with split treads instead of a single piece like we see in the miniature. Maybe that was just a lack of fact checking. I don't know. And then finally, we've got our Ill Clan variant. This one, so we're back to the turret looking a lot larger than the hull. Even on the miniature looks properly proportioned, whereas the particular drawing that we've got here, while it's not bad, almost, for lack of a better way to put it, not Metal Gear, Metal Slug. That's the game that I'm thinking of, where it's sort of like a chibi style tank. And that's sort of what this reminds me of with the turret. So I'm glad that the miniature came out better. but it definitely has some off styling to it. Overall, it's good. I prefer the miniature over the art. So that is the Demolisher. All right, next up we've got the Pegasus Scout Hover Tank. Uh, Honestly, I like this. The hover tank, it just looks like it's going to be fast. Lots of fun little details. The tail fin on the back, the jet thrusters, uh, everything just kind of implying that this is a hover vehicle and it's going to be moving fast. It's got obviously a laser weapon there on the right side of the hull as it comes around, and it's got a missile rack up in the turret. Overall, it's a nice simple design, and I think it'll be fun to paint. I'm still trying to decide how I want to paint my vehicles, but for some reason I'm really leaning into the hover vehicles, and just having some fun with those stylings. But yeah, so that is the Pegasus. Now let's take a look at some of the art. So this is our Dwayne Luce 3026 Pegasus. It looks a lot more slick and streamlined, but overall it's more or less the vehicle that we've got now. Probably because there's I don't my guess would be that there's probably not too many ways to do the art, but it's also fairly easy to replicate. So I like what they did here. The diagonal trapezoid, is trapezoid the word? I think that's the word I'm looking for the missile tubes looks nice. And I think they kept that. They did keep that on the miniature, although yeah, so but they went with the reverse order. But again, one of those little details that I just noticed, and I think it was fun that they kept that in. All right, so this is 3026, 3039. So essentially the same drawing, although cleaned up and simplified a little bit. Next up, we've got the 3058 upgrade from Dwayne Luce again. And this one, I think we're getting a little closer to the piece of the miniature that we've got. Just the way that the cockpit is designed, these air intakes along the side. But then we've got the reversed order on the SRM-6 launchers. And I think, yes, then we've got the Donegal regular, or no, the Gallatin regulars, sorry, from Camo Specs. A little bit of a simpler design, but overall still just I like seeing the Camo Specs art. So actually I did forget to get this one, so let's grab that real quick. All right, so last piece of art. This is our Il-Clan version of the Pegasus. It came out of Shrapnel number 10, so I'm not sure if it's made it to an Il-Clan recognition guide. It's interesting because it looks wider than the miniature we have. The miniature looks a little more narrow. But overall, it's the design, it's the style. I think they did very well at keeping the original look of the Pegasus, but again, giving it that Il-Clan styling. I still am a little frustrated with the fact that the Il-Clan designs all look like they came out of the exact same mech or production facility, but overall, the designs are really clean. They're a lot better as far as proportions and cleanliness of the art. So I'm pretty happy with everything we've got here. So that is the Pegasus. All right, now finally we have the Condor Heavy Hover Tank. This is actually, now that I'm feeling dumb, this is a 50-ton vehicle with an AC-5, 2 medium lasers, and a machine gun. So for 50 tons, that's rather lightly armed in my opinion. But overall, it's a decent design. It looks like it's supposed to be a heavy vehicle. Obviously, with hover vehicles, there are limits to how large it can be. But there's the small turret in the front. There's a large turret up above. The model is pretty clean. There is a little bit of mold line going on, but it's not too bad straight out of the box. I know that I am pretty bad about cleaning that off. So, luckily with this, I don't think there's going to be too big of a problem there. But overall, it's a decent looking miniature. So, as far as our art, this is the first piece from 3026. 3026 did not have all of the art in color, so do keep that in mind. But the art is a little rough, mostly because, like, the turret, there's some strange perspective. You can see the this little mini turret up here by the cockpit, and what looks like another missile launcher, but I'm not sure. At least we've got the machine gun right here. So then this is probably going to be your medium laser. So yeah, now I'm not sure if this is a missile launcher or if this is just supposed to be... oh, wait a second. You know what? I think this is your machine gun, because then in the turret, we've got the AC-5 and the medium laser. Now, this is the 3070 upgrade version of the Condor, and I'll be honest, this is the one that I'm more familiar with. I recognize the old art from 3026, but this version is the one from Dark Age, and I played a lot of Dark Age, and actually enjoyed it. So this particular style is one that I'm a little bit more used to. Now, we also have the Tech Readout 3075, which is more or less the same. It does look fairly different compared to the miniature that we've got, though, because the miniature we've got puts the AC-5 in the turret along with the medium laser, and then this art puts in, I'm guessing, 4 SRM-4s, since there's no SRM-8. But then this is our Ill Clan variant. Again, nice solid piece of art. Very much a different style, I think. This almost could have been a different vehicle, in my opinion. It still looks good. I'm not complaining about it, but it's it definitely seems different from just a baseline Condor. At least the 3070 and 3075 more or less looked like the original piece of art. Sort of. Let me correct that. This thing's gone through complete changes. This does not look very similar to this, which definitely doesn't look similar to this. So outside of the fact that it's got, a hover skirt down below. So, you know what? I'm going to correct everything I said. I like the art, but the miniature and the Ill Clan version, I'm not set on any of the designs, but I like that we got a miniature that is pretty close to the Ill Clan art. So there we go. That is the Condor. Now, remember, there are 2 copies of all of these vehicles in these packs, plus all of the cards for the Battlefield Support and Alpha Strike. So, you know, it's a pretty decent pack. I mean, especially when you consider that. Oh, and I can't remember which button to click. Especially when you consider that the vehicles are going to be a lot smaller, not just in height, but in general size compared to the battle mech. So I do actually appreciate that they're giving us two vehicles, or two of each vehicle, whereas in the battle mech packs you're just going to get one of four different designs. So I really like what they did there with doing the pairings. Overall, solid designs as always. I have very little to complain about. Um, but I will probably be using these for a lot of different proxies as opposed to running them exactly as they are. But we'll see what happens moving forward. So, what do you think? Did you purchase this? Are you going to be using these in your games of Battletech? Put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. But with that said, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next time.